Like, don't you need people? I don't know. You just need people. And most of the people, this is surprising probably, but like most of the people in the world are not in the U.S. by a long shot.
Deep thoughts with Doogles.
This podcast contains the arguably witty banter of two friends, Skippy and Doogles, that like to debate about investing. The content is intended to be entertaining and for informational purposes only, not investment advice. You should do your own research and consult a financial professional before using any of the information in this podcast, and especially before investing.
Skippy and Doogles talk investing, back here to occupy your mental airspace. Thank you for tuning in. SkippyDoogles.com is where you can go for all your Skippy Doogles needs. You can check out our Instas, check out our premiums. Everything's there. Please do send us listener mail. We appreciate it. Even if we don't cover it on the show, skippydoogles@gmail.com. Send something in. We have 3 items for y'all today. The first is going to the Wayback Machine. Going to play a clip from Warren Buffett and then discuss that. The second is the U.S. workers' share of capital is at its lowest level since 1947. We're going to touch on that and then wrap it on up with the world's richest man saying that it's not important to save for retirement. That is Elon Musk. It's hard to say that without even...
The way you set that up is kind of hilarious. First, you said for all your Skippy and Doogles needs, which is like, I love that people have Skippy and Doogles needs. I mean, you know?
They do.
Hit the website.
They do.
But yes, anyone who doesn't need a plan for retirement telling you how to plan for retirement, there might be a red flag.
He's not telling you how to plan. He's telling you not to. All you have to do is become a 600 billionaire and you don't have to plan for retirement. We'll get to that later. Okay, first up, Warren Buffett. This is a clip from 1998, I believe, sometime in the late 1990s. He's talking to an MBA class or some class of some group of up-and-coming professionals and giving advice. This whole thing, which we'll have on the Substack next week, skippydoogles.substack.com, this whole thing is about an hour and 20 minutes long, his whole talk. And it's classic Buffett stuff. So if you're just sitting on the beach and you're like, you know what I need right now is some investing lore, play the whole thing and listen to it. We're going to give you a clip and then we're going to discuss. I'm going to hit that up right here.
I mean, almost every business we've bought has taken 5 or 10 minutes, I mean, in terms of analysis. And we bought 2 businesses this year. General Re is, $18 billion or some deal. I've never been to their home office. I hope it's there. There could be just a few guys and they say, well, what numbers should we send Buffett this month? Of jets. Before I bought it, I bought my family a quarter interest in the program 3 years earlier, and I'd seen the service and seen it develop well. And I got the numbers, but if you don't know enough to know about the business instantly, you won't know enough in a month or 2 months. I mean, you have to have sort of the background of understanding and knowing what you do understand and don't understand. And that is the key. It's defining what I call your circle of competence. And everybody's got a different circle of competence. The important thing is not how big the circle is. The important thing is staying inside the circle. And if that circle has only got 30 companies in it out of thousands on the big board, as long as you know which 30 they are, you're okay. And you should know those businesses well enough so that you don't need to do lots of work. Now, I did a lot of work in the earlier years just in getting familiar with businesses. And the way I would do that is I would go out and use what Phil Fisher called the scuttlebutt approach. I'd go out, I'd talk to customers, I'd talk to maybe ex-employees in some cases, I'd talk to suppliers, everybody. Every time I'd see somebody in an industry, let's say I was interested in the coal industry, I'd go around and see every coal company, and I'd ask every CEO, if you could only buy stock in one coal company that wasn't your own, which one would it be and why? And you piece those things together and you learn a lot about the business after a while. And the funny thing is you get very similar answers as long as you ask about competitors. I'd say if you got a silver bullet, and you put it through the head of one competitor, which competitor and why? You'll find out who the best guy in the industry is in that case, or the one that's coming up. And there's a lot of things you can learn about a business. I've done that in the past on the businesses that I feel I could understand, so I don't have to do much of that anymore. It's a nice thing about investing is you don't have to learn anything very new. I mean, you can do it if you want to, but if you learned about Wrigley's chewing gum 40 years ago, you still understand Wrigley's chewing gum. There's not a lot of great insights to get or anything of the sort as you go along. So you do get a database in your head. I had a guy, Frank Rooney, who ran Melville for many years. His father-in-law died, owned a company called H.H. Brown, a shoe company. And he put it up with Goldman Sachs, but he was playing golf with a friend of mine here in Florida and mentioned to this friend. The guy said, "Why don't you call Warren?" He called me at the end of the golf match, and in 5 minutes, I basically had a deal. But I knew Frank, and I knew the kind of business. I sort of knew the basic economics of a shoe business, and so I could buy it. And quantitatively, I got to decide what the price is. But that's either yes or no. I mean, I don't fool around a lot with negotiations. So if they name a price that makes sense to me, I buy it. If they don't, I was happy the day before, so I'll be happy the day after without owning it. Yeah.
I want your reaction. There are a few different components in there.
You always try and get me fired up. I have a love-hate relationship with Buffett because he's so contradictory. He's like, and listen, good investing by its nature is so contradictory because the best investors in the world say, I buy these individual stocks and I make ridiculous amounts of money, but the rest of you, the 99% of you, should do something totally different.
Yeah.
I'm glad you let it play because when he says it takes 5 or 10 minutes to determine a price, great. But then he actually takes you behind the curtain of someone who spent, at that point in time, 40 or 50 years obsessed, flying, driving, taking trains, and asking coal companies for their competitors. So he's already done all the analysis. The first statement is, you can do this in 10 minutes if you spent 50 years thinking about only this. And I just see people miss that all the time. I'm like 25 years into this. You're about the same. I'm getting to the point where it might not be 10 minutes, but it's much quicker than it used to be because you've looked at Wrigley's gum, et cetera. So I think it's a really good clip, but it's one of those things that people will pull a 10-second clip here or there and totally misinterpret it.
Yeah. I love that piece. There's another one or two that I want to touch on in here, but I love that reaction. It takes me back to I think it was Columbia University where Li Lu was giving a presentation, and it was in some class that he was talking, and he pulls out a value line sheet on a company or two. And Li Lu is like, if you can't look at this and within 30 seconds get a baseline understanding of whether it should be a no or not, then you should not be in the investing business. He says something along those lines. What is skipped in that, which you just brought up here, that comes from this Warren Buffett clip, is my read from, and I'm trying to put words in Li Lu's mouth, my read from what Li Lu was saying is not today. It's not like if you in this class today, based on what you know, can't do that, then you should give up and walk away. It's the point where you should get to in your career is at that point, and it could take some time. But that's the point where you want to get to. Those two things, to what you're saying, those two things get so conflated that people, if they aren't at the finish lines, a lot of times, and this happens in investing, but otherwise in life, if you're not at the finish line at the beginning, then you can kind of give up because you don't realize the amount of work that happens, to your phrase, behind the curtain before you can get to that statement. So I really like that Buffett said all of that because it's all really important, but still easily misinterpreted, even if you hear it all.
Yes. I mean, you're trying to take this podcast to extreme nerdland when we're dropping Phil Fisher references. All right. if you're not with us, and everyone knows who Buffett is. Phil Fisher is one of Buffett's mentors who he often says he's like maybe a third or 20% like Phil Fisher and 80% to 60% like Benjamin Graham. Who's a professor at Columbia University. Li Lu, who you mentioned, is a famous investor who Charlie Munger has parked his money with. I mean, we're pretty deep in the weeds here.
And Phil Fisher's book was Uncommon Stocks, Uncommon Profits. Is that Phil Fisher?
Yes.
I think that's right.
I'm not a fan, but some people are. Have you read that one?
Yeah.
You've read it, right?
Yeah.
It's just a lot of hogwash in that one. What could I say? My takeaway here is just larger. It's if you find something you're truly passionate about, and you do it for 50 years, you're probably going to be great at making decisions in a short period of time because you've seen everything. And so I don't really even see this as about investing, just about like Buffett found his passion. Now he's really good at it and can make decisions quickly.
I want to broaden it out a little bit more to life. We don't have to talk about it that long, but to your point of saying it's not just about investing, I think this happens everywhere. I've seen it happen in the leadership realm, where you could look at something, if you're leading a team, and your team brings something, you can make a decision in 5 seconds from seeing that because of pattern matching, because you can see step 2, step 3, step 4, the most likely, probabilistically, the most likely scenarios. And I could see the team being like, oh man, God, I suck. I thought about this for 3 days and couldn't come up with the thing that the guy looked at for 5 seconds. But it's not that you suck. It's that I've got 25 years also of leading teams. Like it's pattern match. And that's the thing I think that people miss. And investing, where it gets most dangerous, is because you could put your life savings on the line or someone else's life savings on the line from that, because you bring this up all the time. You could see a situation where somebody is 90% of their portfolio is in Bitcoin, and it's a billionaire, 90% in Bitcoin. And you don't realize that, but actually that's like 90% of their invested capital. And they made their $10 billion over here, and that's all sitting in treasury bills. And what they have invested is this, or you don't see the hedge they have on, or there's so much that you can't see behind the scenes. So that's the reason why I think this is really important.
Yeah, I feel like we've beat that one to death kind of when we talk about Bill Miller's portfolio being half Amazon and half Bitcoin, but not realizing that he's worth however many hundreds of millions or whatever. I started when you initially played that clip, I almost really lost it, because I think what happens with that first thing when he says it takes me 5 minutes to buy a company is you have someone hearing about Bitcoin for the first time and being like, I get it. This is world changing. Yeah. My life savings should go into Bitcoin because Buffett told me to. It's like, that's just so far from the truth. If crypto had been around for, let's call it 50 years, and if you've lived in the crypto ecosystem for 50 years, maybe then we can talk. But it just gets misapplied. I
can't remember if I brought this up or not when I was bringing up Too Big to Fail, the Aaron Ross Sorkin book. But there's a point in there where he mentions Buffett, and Buffett's like about to get on a plane to go on this might be, anyway, it's something about Buffett. It could be long-term capital management, or it could be during the 2008 financial crisis. I cannot remember. He's about to get on a plane to go visit, to go like fishing with Bill Gates or something like that. And like his foot is, one foot is on the plane. That's how much time this has taken. And he like gets the phone call, and they go, well, so do you want to sign this deal or not? I'm going to send you over the contract and the paperwork. And he said, I wouldn't have even agreed to do this if I had to read a contract to agree to it. Just like, I'm good. And the reason why he brought that up was because of trust. It was like, if the person that I'm agreeing to this with is the most important component of it, and that person is not going to screw me over. And that's similarly something where I could see, you could be like, oh, well, Buffett says that, so I'm just going to do that in my everyday life. And one of the things that I think Buffett probably has well above many other people, I don't know him, so I'm making this up, but he talks about it enough that I'm just going to assume it, is his ability to read trust and integrity in people. Whether or not he can read their management savvy or any of that stuff, like trust and integrity is something he brings up a lot. And so whether or not it's true, let's assume it's true. If that's true, then what I have to believe is he also has 50 years of reading into trust and integrity. And so that's also the reason why he makes that decision incredibly quickly.
He does, but you're oversimplifying what he's doing. Let's pretend that story's about Amex during their fraud crisis when he takes a big position, or Goldman Sachs during their crisis when he takes a big position and a seat on the board. Or is it Bank of America that during the great financial crisis he took a big position and got a preferred warrants? Sorry, from memory.
I think it was.
Anyway, my only point here is
one of the big banks.
Yeah, he does have 50 years of reading trust in individuals, and he has great expertise there. But he also usually gets a price where it's a no-brainer, right? So, there's businesses that he's paid up for in his terms. Yeah. But most of the time, it's like a no-brainer deal, and he knows even if it blows up, and sometimes it will, that he'll be just fine on the other side. So that speaks to... Go ahead.
He does. They ask him about, because this was fresh at this point in the clip I just played. During that entire video, they ask him about long-term capital management, which would have just happened like within the past year of this. And he says something along those lines where he doesn't address it for very long, but he was basically just like, I was paying 2 cents to the dollar and like, it doesn't matter if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like it, right. But you're right with those two. It was something where he's going to pay like 30% below market value and get preferred shares that have a 10% preferred dividend attached to it. So
this is my point.
Like,
and
I'm good.
And I in business dealings, I don't love it when lawyers get involved, and I much prefer working with someone I trust and can make a handshake for, and that's all well and good. But I'm also not gambling like 100% of my revenue or life savings or whatever. So there's this fine balance between being smart, and I think in most cases Buffett's approach is best, but also I don't want people to misinterpret that and think that Buffett ever put 100% of his wealth in a risky situation on a handshake. Like, he just didn't do that, and he never would do that. Right now he has formally retired and moved on, and that's great. But right now he's sitting on almost $400 billion in cash. Okay, he could buy.
Well, he's not. No, he's not anymore.
Well,
he's not anymore.
His company. Right before he retired, he could have done a few handshakes to buy companies for $50 billion here and $50 billion there. He still would not risk 100% of his wealth or 100% of his company. He's just too smart for that. So
that's right.
Rant over.
The last thing I want to touch on the Buffett piece was what he said at the end. The reason I played probably the last 45 seconds was to get to that shoe company point where he's talking about price. And it's a vast oversimplification of what he said there. But what he was saying was they're going to give me a price, and either the price is good or the price isn't good, is what it is. But the next sentence is really the one that I want to hone in on, which is where he talks about, he's like, I didn't own the company yesterday, and I was happy. I could not own the company tomorrow, and I'll be happy. And there are times, it reminds me of some of the conversations that we've had off pod around stocks. We're throwing out like, oh, the stock's at such a good price. And then sometimes you or I will be like, I just don't want to own it. And like sometimes, especially when you're investing over a series of decades, when that's your entire investing career, you could get this, what seems like really what they call like the fat pitch, where you take the big swing, where you go in concentrated, and it's okay if you don't take it. And you just have to ignore the fact that that thing goes up 3x or 5x or 6x and just wait like another few years, and there will probably be another one. It's hard to do in the moment, but when he said that, I thought of how important of a lesson that actually is that you were cool not owning Okla yesterday, and you could be cool not owning Okla. Okla comes up a lot on this pod. It just bothers me. Sorry.
You love it.
You could be cool not owning Okla tomorrow.
It's so funny because I have like psychological bubble wrap around some of these things. Sometimes when there is a company I don't want to own, it gets so cheap that I buy it, and let's pretend it pops 20 or 30%. When I sell the thing, I actively take it off anywhere that I could see the price again, and I make special effort to never look at it again, because I don't, odds are it will continue to go up, but my psychological torture and the amount of time I've spent looking at that name, I'm done with it. Like, I do not want, that company is not worth any of my brain power anymore.
Twilio sits there for me right now. Where like I got out and I was like, okay, and I'm good. Like it doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter for me. Okay. Should we go to the next item in the fishbowl?
Yeah, tell me about this.
Okay. There was a Fortune piece that came out this week. The title is U.S. Workers Just Took Home Their Smallest Share of Capital Since 1947, at least. I feel like the person just wrote a sentence. I was like, that's the title. Like when there's punctuation, there just shouldn't be that much punctuation. Okay. All right. So it's by Sasha Rogelberg. And what this is looking at, just to define share of capital, you have all the amount of money that companies produce, income, profits, all that. And there's a percentage of that gets paid out to labor, wages, and salaries. And she's saying that percentage is the smallest percentage since 1947. Where that sits right now is at 53.8%. And it's down from over the last decade, it's been 55.6% on average. So down about 2 whole percentage points, which doesn't seem huge, but it's a lot of money when you look at the size of the U.S. economy.
Yeah.
Where the interesting part of this piece comes from for me is twofold. There's one where it does talk about how you've got GDP which is growing at like Chinese levels, it feels like right now, which after that report came out in December, I texted you and I was like, this makes no sense to me. You have corporate profits that are at all-time highs and seem to be like raising a lot. And then you have the fact that last year, employers, according to this, employers added 584,000 jobs in 2025 compared to 2 million in 2024. So you've got this jobless surge in the economy. And that's where that share can become low because you have companies making more and more money, but workers aren't as employed. Unemployment has also come up. It's still relatively low, but it's come up a little bit. And so there's this like, that's one data point. The second point on the twofold piece is that then you start looking at productivity. So the third quarter GDP data showed non-farm productivity growth soared to an annualized rate of 4.9%. And so then you got the people in this piece, which this debate, no one knows the answer, which you can call it pointless, but that's kind of what I love. So they're the people that go, oh, it's AI. AI is creating all this productivity and actually jobs are going to go away. 25% was some numbers, like 25% of maybe not jobs, but at least income that comes from there is going to be going away in the future. And then you have the folks that go, or they just lost workers and keep making money. And like, it's not really an AI thing, but AI is the rationale that's being given for a lot of these layoffs. Like it's the disguise or the guise is what they say in here. So those are the points that I thought were interesting in here. But it does relate also to the broader conversation that we've been having around affordability, where when you see corporate profits going up, you don't see your personal micro profits going up as an individual. There's a psychological karate that takes place there.
I'm going to take a Doogles detour here, and I swear I'm going to get back to this piece. But
Didgeridoo-Doogles?
That's right. I watched a demo this week of some new startup branded as AI, complete automation of marketing to replace a team of 10 people, right? And the reason I watched it is because no one that works in marketing, almost no one in marketing that works in marketing can ever define what marketing actually is. So I was curious what this company thought marketing was. Well, so they gave this example all in 3 minutes where they pointed at a startup's website, brand new startup, just raised Series A.
Yep.
They said, make a marketing plan for this. The tool created like 7 fake Reddit accounts that were authenticated somehow and 7 fake LinkedIn people that were somehow authenticated with real job titles. This is beyond me as to how it works. And then
Didgeridoo-Doogles wants to be your friend on LinkedIn.
They went and started the Reddit conversation and commented on the Reddit conversation and everything else. And they went and started the LinkedIn buzz. And all of a sudden they got this massive online buzz, and then the direct-to-consumer product took off and everything was wonderful. The reason this relates back to this piece is this is with the easiest hypothesis for what's happening. Oh, productivity went up so much, blah, 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 everything's great. A company like LinkedIn or Facebook or anyone else might see some of that shadiness happening because you can identify behind the scenes, and they can make 2 decisions. They can say, well, this means more ads for us. This means more users, quote unquote users for us. This is a good thing. And we can let computers talk to computers on end to improve SEO rankings, to create this fake economy of fake people talking to each other. Or a company like LinkedIn could say, actually, this seems really shady, and the credibility of our product disappears if all the people talking are not real people. They're made by marketing companies to create buzz around this.
Yeah.
That's a slightly different conversation, but at a small scale, I think the easiest hypothesis for some of this is like, oh yeah, the computers are automating more of the work, and that's great. It's great until it's not, when the entire the entire share of GDP is just computers talking to each other. And sorry, I'm on an extreme example that's very specific here, but then the true value will be had with finding the platform or the in-person place where you actually get authentic conversation and opinions from real people. And maybe I'm just saying I'm kind of ready for that backlash, or I would expect the backlash of that to happen at some point. And in certain places, you're already seeing it with many companies just saying, we are in office 5 days a week. It's non-negotiable. Deal with it.
Yeah. I agree with one thing that did pop into my mind was sometimes going back to tie it into the Buffett thing, you just have experience with stuff and you just go like, it's described as this doesn't feel right. And then people that are fully bought into whatever that wave might be, in this case, it's AI productivity, are like, well, tell me why. Like, prove to me that it's not. And you're like, I don't need to. You can do whatever you want with it. Like, I don't need to prove to you that it's not. It's just like, just wait. Let's just all just sit and wait.
I'm happy to prove in my example of that new startup, the reason I trust Reddit threads or LinkedIn conversations is because I believe they come from that's a little strong because less and less I believe they come from real people, but because I used to believe they came from real people and they were real opinions from real users. And so if there was buzz around a certain product, I think they also automated Product Hunt, right? Of course they did. Like, if there's buzz around a certain product...
That's the whole point of Product Hunt. It's not to, like... I guess same with Reddit.
Bots telling you it's good. Then I would say that means there's a collection of real people that actually like this thing, and that means it's worth trying.
Yeah, exactly.
As soon as you lose that, everything becomes significantly less valuable. And that's the doomsday case. The last couple of weeks and really the last couple of months, software as a sector has just been crushed, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of that's the AI buzz of thinking that you can use Claude Code and other things to build your own in-house sales force and not pay them a fee. I totally get it. It's more complicated than that. But all the tools, all the online gathering places that people have become dependent on to actually figure out the buzz and people's opinions, if those aren't authentic opinions, those business models are going to get crushed because no one's going to go anymore.
Yeah. It's just time. One of the other data points that hit me with this was talking about foreign workers. And given the past year, this is not surprising, but these numbers still hit me. I'll read from here. The most recent BLS household survey reveals a decline of 881,000 foreign-born workers since January 2025. That's in the U.S. And a decline of 1.3 million workers since a March 2025 peak. That's a lot of people. Like, don't you need people? I don't know. When you just need people. And most of the people, this is surprising probably, but like most of the people in the world are not in the U.S. by a long shot.
Deep thoughts with Doogles.
Yeah, but these are you don't need some of the stuff, even like what you were saying before. You don't need deep thoughts for. It's like just
we talked about it last week, and I won't belabor the point, but the background I'm reading on Venezuela, that book it's just been fascinating because U.S. administrations from both parties neglected the turmoil for basically 30 years and waited for it to implode. And then we did the thing where we said, well, all these immigrants are showing up at our border because they literally don't have food. Oh, they must be horrible people. And it's like... foreign policy is impossible. This is not a foreign policy podcast, but it's funny how if you play this game of whack-a-mole, the root cause of the situation will show up at your doorstep at some point if you let chaos go on for 30 years, even if it feels far away. And what we will likely do, again, this is not a foreign policy podcast, is wait until it's too late and we realize we actually need an influx of smart, hardworking people just because of demographics before we try and fix it, and that's unfortunate. But the way we're structured is Washington is not long-term planning, Doogles. I hate to break it to you. No one's thinking about what happens in 15 years. They're thinking about what happens in 15 days.
No, and sorry to you, but I will get political for a second. We're not short-term planning either. It's like the ultimate strength, actually, of the current administration and specifically of the president is media. Like, he's just very, very good at marketing and media, but it's a broad-based media Ponzi scheme. And so you're looking for the next thing that's going to drive attention according to positive image. And that's not a plan. That's a set of tactical executions. And a beautiful thing, but also kind of the sucky thing with the U.S. right now is we're like really good at tactical execution, meaning you can get the thing done, not meaning the thing that you get done is right. And so it's kind of I don't even know where I'd probably disagree with the point that you stated before, because I don't think there's going to be some realization, the thing that we were trying to do failed. It's like we weren't actually trying to do anything. We were just doing things. And that's where something's going to bite us in the tuchus. Because I said that. I know it's a clean, family-friendly podcast.
Earmuffs, kids. Earmuffs.
Yeah, earmuffs, kids. But that number to me, it's like 1 million people. Like, that's just like, that's scary.
Well, hold on, though. I think this ties back to Buffett. You're telling me someone who's a master media strategist, manipulator, whatever you want, might have been someone that's been doing that for 60 plus years? Like,
yeah,
that's the expertise.
Exactly.
This is incredible.
It is true. It is true.
This is like Buffett buying a company. So I think we should move on with that.
All right. Let's do it. And let's wrap up with something positive. So last thing in the fishbowl, Elon Musk, the official billionaire of the podcast, he says, the unofficial, official, just in case his people are listening, no cease and desist orders here, please, worth $600 billion. And according to this article, I did not go do the firsthand research. He's on another podcast. He's on Peter Diamandis. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's on his podcast called Moonshots. And one of the things that he says, which was probably pulled out for clickbait, but one of the things that he says is that there's going to be this future where AI is going to be all up in energy and there's robotics and you're going to supercharge productivity and there's going to be an abundance of resources. So anyone can have anything. And when anyone can have anything, you don't need to worry about saving for retirement in 20, 30 years because you're covered. That's the future. So why save for retirement?
You want me to talk about Venezuela nonstop.
I really do. It's my favorite activity.
Okay. The problem with that mindset is you have to trust someone that's not you to provide for you, whether that's okay. So whether that's a government entity or what, or whether that's Elon Musk and his all-powerful AI company just deciding to write people checks, who knows how that works? But it goes back to Venezuela when the oil boom happens in the 80s, and it's so strong that it takes up 100% of the economy. And so people have no incentive to work, and they just show up and say, government, give me a house. Government, give me a car. Government, give me free gasoline. It might work for 3 to 5 years if all goes well, until something unexpected happens. And then you, who's not in control of your own paycheck and your own destiny, like this sounds like the worst. Yeah. I think I'd rather hike into the mountains, fight someone for 5 acres of land, and be reliant on me and only me for my future success than I would just have my hand out to someone that's not me. Am I mad?
I just pictured you hiking with your snow boots on. So again, I'm going to pull this away from Elon Musk because I didn't listen to the podcast, so this could be taken away out of context. But let's just talk about the concept of what you're hitting on as well right now. Is the other side of this is, why are there so many people on entitlements and taking government handouts? We need to cut all those entitlements, but don't save for retirement, because in 20 years you're actually going to have all the entitlements you want.
For you. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's exactly what you're saying, but I said this relating to government spending 6 months ago. Sure, we can go into debt. Sure, any government can go into debt. But the only guarantee is if you live within your means and if you work hard and build a solid foundation, you'll have more options down the road. If you save for your retirement, you'll have a lot more options down the road, because if you don't, your only option is to have your hand out for someone that's not you. And that seems like a pretty depressing thing, as I already belabored.
Yeah, it also reminded me of what you brought up a few weeks ago, where it's all about comparison in the end. So if the world ends up not saving for retirement, but you do, it's like supercharges your optionality point. Imagine where you're going to be. This is more of I am sure this was just like a clickbait, let's just get people engaged type point, and there was probably more context that happened in the actual conversation that he had. But
you just want to talk politics today, because this reminds me of the Greenland conversation that's going around right now, which is hyperbolic and controlling the media, but kind of fun. And the most surprising thing that happened on this podcast, it's
not fun for Denmark. I can tell you who it's not fun for.
The most surprising thing, I read that breakdown in The Economist of why it might make sense to buy Greenland for the U.S., and I actually argued for it. I don't know if you remember that, and I have no clue what episode it was on. But this is the point. People are throwing around crazy numbers where each citizen of Greenmark, which, if I remember correctly, is only 56,000
Greenmark?
people.
Have they merged?
Greenland, thank you. Could get $1 million, right?
Yeah.
They could get, And that would be the least fulfilling $1 million ever because you live on a small population of 50,000 people and everyone gets the same check at the exact same time. And what would happen is prices would go up by a lot. Sure, you could move somewhere else and that'd be great. Or you could take really fancy international trips. That is the only thing that happens if everyone in your neighborhood is handed $1 million at the same time. It doesn't actually do anything. It's funny money.
I don't remember what the book was, but there was a book recently that was talking about this big plan that Hitler had, but it did not end up going through because they fell behind in the war. So the Hitler was planning for the Nazis to drop just tons and tons of pounds, British pounds, over London. So they were organizing bombers filled with money. And the goal was to drop it over London to just destroy the currency. Like that was the...
How did they come into possession of these pounds?
I think they might have been counterfeit. And I can't remember all the detail because I didn't plan on bringing this up. But from my memory, they got the best counterfeit folks in the world to come together, or they taught them how to do it. And it was over something like 3 years, from 1941 to 1944. It was something like that. Yeah. They were just generating all this currency with the goal of dropping it. But by 1944, Germany had gotten to a point where they were in a bad space in the war. And so they couldn't release the airplanes. And so it didn't happen. But what you just said, effectively, it's the same thing.
I have a new favorite sanction strategy. It's produce a lot of another company's currency. And you can't drop it from planes, but you slowly infiltrate and leave hundreds of thousands of dollars on every corner and just have the currency be worth nothing. But this, believe it or not, ties back to Venezuela. So when people,
oh my goodness,
people have talked Bitcoin recently, they've been like, well, the one indisputable value of Bitcoin is to protect against inflation when the government does people wrong, and Venezuela is a key example. I hate to break it to you folks, but a lot of people in Venezuela for the past 20 years don't even have rice and lentils to eat.
Yeah.
Don't even have a roof over their head in some cases. You think they just have a fancy computer? If they're lucky, they have power 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
Usually, often they don't have running water. But yeah, they just have their computer or their smartphone to buy and trade Bitcoin at their heart's desire. If only it were that simple, I would love for it to be.
By the way, the book is The History of Money. David McWilliams. That's the book.
Okay. We need to get him on the show because
probably.
His breakdown of how the Protestant church was basically a tax dodge against the Catholic Church in the 1600s is a fascinating take as well. The history of the money, that's on my list to read, and it seems like a fascinating book. He also invited us to a get-together in Ireland that we need to check out, Doogles. So maybe we can
I'm already there.
Yeah, perfect.
When is that?
I'll let you know.
On the list of things the pod listeners don't want to hear about is our logistics planning to go to Ireland.
All right, that's it. Pure craziness this week. We hope you enjoyed it, and we will talk to you next week.
Thank you, everybody.